Finally, there's a COVID-19 vaccine. But how do these vaccines actually work? Why is everybody talking about this new type of vaccine? And what's so new about it? Finding a vaccine is very important in the case of a pandemic, a disease that spreads all over the world. It is necessary in order to stop the spread, to prevent the severe causes, and to get back to normal life. Because if a lot of people are vaccinated, we can slowly go out again, do sports, meet friends again, and go to school or kindergarten. Researchers around the world have been working on this since the beginning of the year. There are 3 different, very promising vaccines so far. One of them has just been approved in many countries, and the other 2 may be approved soon. One of them uses a principle that is similar to conventional vaccines. In order to understand that, you can watch the video about vaccines in general. The other 2 use a new strategy. To understand this new strategy, we need to understand roughly how our human cells work and how viruses work. So let's start with the human cell. Our body consists of 100 trillion cells. Each human cell has its own blueprint. You can imagine it like a thick book. This book is present in every single cell, in the skin, the brain, the heart, or the muscles. It is called desoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA for short. The book is stored inside a treasure chest, because it must be well protected. The treasure chest is basically the cell nucleus. Whenever our body wants to build new cells or cell parts, because some cells have broken down, for example, or because we are growing, it takes a look inside the book. For this purpose, a small message is given out from the treasure chest. This message only contains the part of the book that is needed at the moment. This little message is called messenger RNA, or mRNA for short. Now let's talk about the coronavirus. The virus also has its own blueprint. It needs it in order to reproduce. However, there's much less written on the blueprint of the virus. It is not a thick book, but only a thin booklet. The virus cannot produce everything by itself, but it always needs another, better equipped cell, for example the human cell. So the human cell is the host cell for the virus. The virus then hands its own blueprint, so the booklet, to the human cell and forces it to follow the instructions and produce new viruses. For the 2 new corona vaccines, researchers made an mRNA in the lab that provides a blueprint for a part of the coronavirus. Again, you can think of this as the little pieces of paper with the blueprints that both your cells and the viruses would normally use as well. This little piece of paper that the researchers made explains how to make the spikes on the surface of the coronavirus. These spikes are unique to the coronavirus. They are like the face of the virus. So that's actually similar to the blueprint that the virus otherwise sneaks into the human cells to replicate. But only a part of it, only the spikes of the virus should be built and not the rest of it. These spikes are then only briefly produced by the human cells after the vaccination. The vaccinated mRNA, the little piece of paper, cannot get into the treasure chest of the human cells, and the spikes alone do not make us sick. And what happens then? The superheroes, your immune cells, get to know the face of the virus and find out which karate tricks are the most effective against the virus. Once you come into contact with the real coronavirus, the superheroes recognize the face, knock down the virus with their karate tricks, and you don't even get sick. The little piece of paper with the blueprint for the virus's spikes is not very stable and just breaks down after a while. But the karate tricks remain in the memory of the superheroes. To test all these new vaccines, a lot of people and many countries have already been vaccinated since summer. They were part of so-called vaccine trials. In these studies, they were researching if these vaccinated people would still get sick with the coronavirus or not, and if there would be any bad side effects. All of this has worked very well, and that's why the first vaccine has now been approved. From now on, many people can be vaccinated. However, children will not be vaccinated for the time being. This is because we are first starting with people who are very much at risk from the coronavirus. We are starting with old people and people who work in intensive care units in hospitals, for example, and have contact with the virus there. It'll take a while until enough people are vaccinated so that we can perhaps slowly do the things we did before the pandemics. But first of all, a lot of people have to participate and get vaccinated.